so this is what happens after you got the gift. And one of the things that I think we're all dealing with is it is hard to recruit donors. It's hard to recruit donors in general. It's been hard these last couple of years to recruit donors. And we know that usually in the first year for the new donor cohort that you've recruited, the next year you're probably not going to hear from 70% of them, which is a big number if you think about that, especially all of the work that we do to recruit donors and keep them engaged. So this is a bit of a session just to run through things that we've been doing with our clients at my agency to help them steward their donors, get additional gifts, and overall raise more money. I'll give you the highlight of the things that we think are important, and you'll see that thread through a bunch of these examples. So obviously, especially now with the AI tools, we really can do a good job at personalization and segmentation. So this is the chance to let folks know that you know who they are. I'm also going to highlight how important cultivation and stewardship is to really not only like make people feel good, but to bring them into your community, which is what people want to be, right? They want to be in a community of folks who have the same affinity. I could talk forever about integrating the channels, but I'll touch on that a little bit. And then a little bit also about using the tools that you have. The huge caveat here is always, that Maureen was saying this, test for yourself. Every program is different. So today we'll run a little bit through some examples of cultivation, second gift conversion, monthly giving and upgrading, how to integrate some channels, and a little bit on different types of giving. Okay, so the first thing that I really think is important and that we think is important is building the framework a little bit for a donor journey. And I don't know if any of y'all in the house have built donor journeys, or do you approach your fundraising program with the mindset of a donor journey? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say a donor journey? Okay. So who kind of puts that in mind? The way that we think about it is first the audience. So while we're talking about donors who might be recruited online, they could be from an emergency, something that happened in the world and an organization responded. They could have come in on year end where we get tons of donors who are motivated by the philanthropic feelings of December. They could be coming in from some lead generation that we did on our own. So we think it's important to think about what the different buckets of donors are and then how we're going to start to kind of move them through the communication and engagement stream. So in the end that you have a better relationship with them and raise more money. That stream could include and often includes getting a really important second gift, recruiting folks to become monthly donors if they haven't joined in that. There's a group of donors who we may be able to move more quickly up into mid-level and to higher level of giving. And then a really important point that I'll have a couple of examples on is planned giving or legacy giving and asset giving. I don't know if you all have read the recent Giving USA report or what the planned giving kind of industry said after that, but they're now saying that they believe we are at the start of the great wealth transfer, right? So that like the things that happened last year leads them to believe that we are starting to move that big bunch of money from the boomers to the next generation, and part of that movement is the charitable giving of those folks, which is quite substantial and will be more. And then beyond that, we just really need to measure results, right? And so what we look at is return on investment, because oftentimes we are paying to recruit donors. We're looking at additional giving from those folks. We're looking at how they're engaging with us, and we might be looking about how they're upgrading. So our kind of 3-point plan is develop a plan for your framework, use all your tools, and then really continue to monitor and refine regularly. Does anybody here have a donor journey that they want to tell us about that they've built into their program? Or better yet, when's the last time you looked at your donor journeys? Yeah. No? Lunchtime? Okay. Well, we will talk more about it. So one of the things that we found is, we have a lot of channel-specific techniques, but we know that donors do not follow the route that we've set them on. They follow their own route, but it's a lot to keep straight. And so sometimes we just make a chart. And I think the charts are actually really helpful, y'all. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can do it in Excel. You can do it on a piece of paper. You can do it on a whiteboard. But I think it's important as you're thinking about a donor journey to really show like where you think folks are going to follow. What is the path that you are creating? So on the screen is actually a donor journey that's for digital advertising. This is someone who comes in because we've served them an ad. We got them as a constituent, and then we had a bit of a plan of what they're going to get after they join. And you don't have to understand all of this, but I will say you can see that we've set up the number of days between the different advertising impressions. And the other thing that's important to note is that we're looking at folks that maybe we'll set on a monthly donor journey and folks that we might be setting on a single gift journey, because we do break that up for a variety of reasons. In here are things that I think everybody should be thinking about when you're engaging with donors. We have an impact report, again, something that highlights what their giving is doing for the organization. We have video ads that we show. Video ads are one of the highest things consumed, or videos are one of the highest things consumed online. We also have a flow. If you're not going the monthly donor flow, you have a flow that you're going into an engagement flow. So there's an advocacy ask. You'll see that monthly giving is in there a lot, and that's because we strongly believe in monthly giving, but we do know that we're not going to get everyone to join, and their first gift is monthly gift. All righty. So then finally, I just want to really, we love numbers. We're big on analytics. We try to really measure all the time the work that we're doing and how it's looking in the donor program, how it's performing. I think the really important thing that I want to call out now as you're thinking about retention and stewardship and additional giving is just to make sure that you've built in the places where you can monitor what's going on. So for us, that's retention, which is really important. And we look at it as new donor retention, folks that joined last year and how many of them gave this year. And then we're also looking at everybody else, the folks who were active donors before, and then how many of them gave. As you can see, again, new donor retention is the lowest. It's usually between 20 and 30%. But then for folks who are ongoing, especially recurring donors, it can be upwards of 75%. That said, these are KPIs that you should be monitoring aggressively in your program that really show you how you can pull the levers to grow and where you're kind of had that leaky bucket where folks are falling off. The other thing that we're looking for is the second gift conversion specifically for new donors, right? So again, we get the first gift, and then the biggest hurdle then after that is the second gift. Usually when you've gotten a second gift, then the chances of them giving an additional goes way up, but it's the second gift that's the big deal. When we measure it, usually in the first year if someone's joined, we can get just 10% of them to give again. And so that's one metric we look. We know that for digital, it's actually a little bit higher because digital is the channel where folks often become sustainers. So again, second gift conversion, retention, and then finally, lifetime value. Do y'all monitor lifetime value? Do you know what I mean? Okay. Is something that we look at annually, and then return on investment is a really important metric if you are investing to get new donors, which most of us are. And investing could be in anything from doing advertising lead generation or email constituent generation or, doing direct mail acquisition. All righty, so let's get into things that are more fun. So welcome. That's the first thing, right? We have someone who's joined or given their first gift to your organization. And what's the first thing we do? We welcome them. And we still believe there's all kinds of discussions now, whether we should have welcome series or not, whatever. We still believe in a nice welcome for someone who's opened up their wallet and given you some money. So we'll jump into some examples. I hope you can see this, and I'll explain it, and I think the slides are available later. So I'll tell you a little bit about this organization. I've tried to do a smattering of some smaller regional and then larger organizations. Again, everything in here I think anyone can do. This is for Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy. They work in the San Francisco Bay Area to preserve the Golden Gate National Parks, which is a pretty large network of parks, which are very iconic. So people do kind of have a personal connection to them. We help them with their digital program and their direct mail program. And for every new email donor or email constituent there's a welcome series that's launched, and it's automated, which is also, think about that because automation is important for this, that goes out right after the first gift. And it's customized, whether you're a new single gift donor, whether you're a new monthly donor, or if you're just a new prospect. Your name is on the email list, but you've never given. So the first email here on the left is the first Welcome to the Parks Conservancy, and it includes a bunch of links to their social sites. So it's kind of the welcome. We hope you'll follow us on Instagram. Then we move over to the second one, was What's Your Park Adventure? And these two are conditionalized because one is for someone who's given their first gift, the other's for someone who's joined as a monthly donor. We call that out everywhere we can. We want folks to understand that we know that they've made the commitment to be a monthly donor or that they're a donor. So, and then this is a fun, what's your next park adventure, where we're really trying to then tie into the affinity that folks have with the parks and with this organization. And so there's a couple of options where you can click through to see which is the next park you want to go to. After that, if you're not a monthly donor, you're going to get an ask to be a monthly donor. So that's the third and final email of this series. The one thing that I'll say that we have integrated into this is a peer-to-peer texting touch. And who understands what I mean when I say peer-to-peer texting? Because you worked at Tatango. That's why. Okay. So I think everybody knows Mass Blast. You get a text message and it's like at the end, stop to no longer, and you can tell you've been part of a big push of a text message. Probably around, let's say, election time, you started getting messages where if you responded to them, surprisingly, it seemed like there was a person on the other side. May have been more personalized. Mwosi, thank you so much for giving last year. Is there anything else we can do to ask you to give again? And if you chose to not just delete and say, who is this and how'd you get my number? You got some type of normal reply. That's because the peer-to-peer platforms that are now available to everyone allow for the mass blast, but someone behind the keys to be able to respond to inquiries, discussion points, answers to questions. So it is different than mass blast. There's platforms that can do it. You have to have some type of person power, whether it is volunteers in your organization. You can have call centers do it. But it is an amazingly interactive and engaging experience because, number one, folks understand that it's not just a computer, that it's a person. And so they respond better. Text messages have an open rate in the 98% or something. So they're almost always opened. We found now that with texting, peer-to-peer texting, we can sometimes raise more money than an email message. You can put in bit.ly links. You can do all of those things. So anyways, that's the long story to the fact that for GGNPC, in the Welcome series, we have implemented text message touches. I should say one more thing about text messaging. You can get cell phone numbers for your constituents and if you use them for peer-to-peer texting versus having the opt-in requirement for Mass Blast. If all of that doesn't make sense, you want to know what I'm talking about, we can chat about that later. But the bottom line is folks who are on your file, you can get text messages, cell phone numbers for many, many of them, even if they haven't given them to you. One thing about just the implementing a text campaign into a welcome series is that usually we're doing these kind of on a rolling basis because it's a lot of work. So we might have these text messages may not go exactly at the same timing every month, but we're able to kind of bring people in and have them go out as new folk within the first month or so after someone has joined. All right. So more on texting. So this is two different organizations. First is KQED, who is the large San Francisco public media affiliate. And then on the other side is Center for Victims of Torture. They both have also implemented a peer-to-peer texting message into their Welcome series. And the two examples are, the first one, KQED is a membership-based engagement. So the first one is someone who has newly joined, and that it's actually a video and saying, hey, can I give you any more information about your membership? For CVT, that one is actually one that came in after the USAID cuts, where they were kind of decimated in their program. They'd done a lot of outreach to their donors, and they had a large influx of folks coming in. So they had started customizing this peer-to-peer text message in their welcome series, and then we're asking the folks things like, can we give you any more information about Center for Victims of Torture? One of the most effective ways to engage folks in text is to ask a question, so you'll notice that throughout. For KQED, we actually did a test because we started seeing that maybe having a cultivation text before an ask would work better. So for KQED, we did a cultivation text before we did an ask text. And the response for the folks who got the cultivation text first was almost double that of the folks who just went into a solicitation. We also know that folks who we give them a text message early on usually respond better to text messages later. Question, good? Questions? Okay. Let's keep moving here. So that's welcome. Let's talk a little bit about stewardship and engagement. So we'll go back to KQED, and they have, as you can imagine, a pretty large digital program, generates significant amount of revenue every year. Maintaining a large and active email list is really important for the fundraising program and them overall. And so we build lots of innovative fundraising campaigns, but we also wanted to find some cool ways to engage folks and remind them of the mission and remind them of the impact of their membership. So we came up with these impact emails that you can see are kind of bright. They have infographics and they have numbers that people can relate to. I think if I can see correctly on the right-hand side, like at the top, that $55,000 is how much it takes for them to stay on air per day. The number one in the one on the left is the fact that KQED radio is the number one radio in the Bay Area. We wanted to find ways that we were able to really show the impact, get people to open things, have it look different than other things they were getting, sprinkle it in fundraising. And all in all, we're trying to answer the question, why should I keep giving? Obviously, the other thing is that these days with email deliverability issues, we want things that people open and click on, right? That's how we keep people active in an email program. Okay, on to something completely different is Sempervirens Fund, which is a local conservation organization in the San Francisco Bay Area as well. They work to protect redwoods in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And we have found with them, because we tested it, that if there is a cultivation campaign that goes before a fundraising campaign, the fundraising campaign performs better. So we continue to find ways that we could integrate cultivation into this. And in this example, we actually found this was going to go before the annual Sustainer campaign, and they were able to secure a fun on-brand premium. So All Trails is a Apple app to find hiking trails. So it's nice and on-brand. And we thought not only was it a good way to do a cultivation, it's giving a free gift. So it launched before. And we found that this one, let's see, hold on, I'm messing this up. So the folks who got this did almost better in their click-through rate in the next Sustainer campaign than ones who didn't get this beforehand. So again, pre-campaign cultivation with a nice stewardship offer and even a freebie gift that was on premium, or excuse me, on mission. All right, other fun stuff. So we do really do emails that look like emails. I promise you, we do emails that have a lot of text. We have emails that have a lot of donate buttons. But again, we're continuing to try to find ways that engage folks. And for GGNPC, the Golden Gates National Parks Conservancy, we found a couple of fun ways to engage folks and once again, get what we want, people to click. So these are two separate campaigns. One is an e-card. These e-card things, y'all, remember how long ago, like they were the thing years ago. It was coolest thing that you could go somewhere, do it, put your name in an e-card and have it sent to somebody. Well, for this, we started a campaign where they could thank a park ranger with a Valentine's Day card. So it went out to everyone before Valentine's Day. They could choose the card that they wanted to send, put a nice little note, and send it off. The one on the right is actually a quiz. So we're still doing quizzes as well. Again, ways to engage folks and get them to click. This quiz, I believe, is how many miles of trails are in the GGNPC area. And there's 4 little boxes that they could click through. This is an easy way to do a quiz because it's not really quiz functionality, right? You click one of them and you land on a donation page that has the answer. So you didn't have to go through a bunch of different things. That quiz had a click-through rate of over 3%, which is pretty high for email messages. And the answer is 91 miles, if you can see. All right, personalized messages. Someone asked about how to steward sustainers. When we were talking in the beginning, someone was saying they'd love to know about how to steward sustainers when Brian was asking what folks were hoping we'd talk about. So this is a great example. So this is also for Sempervirens Fund, and this is, what is that? A 6-part personalized series that goes out to active sustainers, right? So for sustainers are folks who choose to give monthly. And that first message on the left, I'm always challenged right and left, goes after the 6 days after the person's signed up to be a monthly sustainer. And it just does a simple thank you, thanks for support, explains about special information they'll have access to, and some general information about the monthly giving program. 6 days after that, they get the next message, which has social links and an invitation to join the text program. So for that, again, that could be the Mass Blast or the peer-to-peer program, but they're asking for an opt-in. So those are the first 2, right? Out you join, and then within, 12 days, you get those messages. And then a month later, we actually launch a tribute giving program request. So Sempervirens has a program where you could give a gift in honor of somebody to protect a redwood. And it has nice little e-cards connected to that too. So that goes out 1 month after the second email. And then 3 months later, we're about 6 months in, we send a legacy program introduction. And this is where I will just suggest to you all that you promote the fact that your organization will take bequests, will take DAFs, will take QCD if you're the type of tax deductible organization that can take all those things, take gifts of stock, because this is a way that anyone, no matter the size of the organization, is starting to generate significant additional revenue. DAF giving continues to exponentially go up year over year. And so these are just really important things to promote to your organization's donors, big or small. So again, 3 months after the person signed up to be a monthly giver, we give them this legacy giving information. It has a downloadable brochure. So again, people often ask about, the hook often for plan giving is, do you need more information from us? And then we give them simple information about how to make a bequest or how to talk about their intention to give. 6 months after that, which when we look at monthly donor programs, while tons stay, it does seem to be like 6, 7, 8. If you're going to lose folks, 6, 7, 8 months seems to be sometimes where some folks will jump off. So that's where we've inserted a survey. And then the final message is an anniversary message. And we're using these anniversary or other kind of birthday, any other kind of information that we have. We use this as much as we can because, again, we're showing the donor that we know who they are. So this is the 6-part series. It is automated. Obviously, there's off-ramps if different things happen for folks during that time. But again, it is the way to continue to steward this really important group of donors who've chosen to give to you monthly. I'm going to stop there because I think you guys should talk. What are you doing to welcome donors, to steward donors in your program? And better yet, Are there ideas from this that you think you can integrate in your program? I'll give you a couple of minutes to talk to yourself, and then I'd love volunteers to hear what you've come up with your table. Someone was asking me, I mean, my feeling on, and again, please test with your program. I think everybody has short attention spans. I believe in a gracious welcome, but I don't think that welcome should go that long, right? So, because what happens sometimes, we would keep people in a welcome series and they'd be out of everything else, right? And so the matching gift, campaign would go by or something else. So I think it's polite to welcome folks, to give them the information, to show them we know who they are. But I just certainly don't suggest you run it too long, and I don't suggest that if it's long, that you're pulling them out of other stuff. For the sustainer, I don't know how to go backwards on this, but I'll say for the sustainer, that was a cultivation series that ran a year, and they were getting other things within that time, right? We believe in sustainers being asked for additional gifts, not in every campaign, but in key campaigns, because they're great donors and they might want to add a little bit to the matching gift campaign. All right, let's talk about getting additional gifts and getting more money. Okay, so the Student Conservation Association is a conservation organization that is a hands-on training program for young adults. We're trying to train the next generation of conservation leaders. We all want sustainers. One of the things, and we run sustainer campaigns. We promote it on the donation page. We do monthly giving first and nudges and all that stuff. Doesn't mean everybody always joins as a monthly donor, as we know. So one of the things they wanted to have was just kind of an always on sustainer recruitment, automated message that could just go out. This one starts 5 days after a person gives their initial gift. We were talking before about how quickly we ask again quickly. These people are feeling good about their making a gift, and they might want to make another. So it's kind of a second acknowledgement, and it's a nice way to have a little bit of a heartfelt thanks. It invites the donor to be a trail builder, which is their monthly giving program. And the thing that's a little different about this one is it has a different signer. So it's not the president or the executive director. It's actually a crew member, someone who works out on the trails with everybody else. So it has a nice different kind of credibility of having someone who's really doing the work. All right. Renewals. We also know that renew is one of the most powerful words in the fundraising work that we do. And so many of our clients have renewal programs online and offline. Almost all of them had a direct mail renewal program, and we've built lots of e-renewal programs. World Animal Protection has a pretty good size digital program that's integrated nicely with its direct mail program, and Renew continues to be one of the strongest asks that they have. So we just wanted to maximize it across all channels, and we built a 10-part e-renewal series, which seems like a lot, but if you look at it, you'll see that it uses a variety of different techniques, and one of them being the resend with a little lift note at top. Do you know what I mean by that? I'll walk away because I'm loud anyways. You'll know. So this email is the same as this email, but it has what we call like a little lift note at top, like, hey, Mwosi, I'm not sure if you saw this email that I just sent, but you didn't respond, so we're sending it to you again. So again, not as much heavy lifting. We do that a couple of times in the series. The way that it works is the first one goes out, this is automated, 9 months after the most recent gift. So this isn't an annual series the way sometimes we have. This is really based on last giving. And then numbers 2 through 9 go 15 days apart. I'll just show you the rest of them. And as you can see, they do continue to vary in format. One of the other things that we like to use is social proof. So again, I'll be loud. This is Sophia Pay reviewed their support just now and has it like a little testimony. We call that social proof. Usually if you test that, you get a higher response. People want to do what they think their peers and other people are doing. And then the last one goes 18 months after their most recent gift. I'll say this again. This does not mean they're not getting campaigns in between this. It means that they are on this renewal track. If they give within it, then they won't get the rest of them. But if they haven't, this is the way to try to get them to renew for, what is that? Not up to 9 months after they had given their last gift. Okay. So WNET is the New York City public media station, also a large direct mail and digital program. And this is a campaign track for donors giving at a higher level. They have a mid-level program called Patrons Program. It's for individuals who give, I believe it's $1,500 to $4,999, so not major. They call this the mid-level. And one of the things that we do in the mail is send a proposal package. I don't know if you're mostly digital folks about a proposal package. It's like this old school thing. It's 9 by 12. You open it up. It's all nicely personalized. And in it is like Mwosi Swenson's personalized proposal to give a significant gift. It's usually multi-page. It kind of goes through lots of content about what the impact of such a large gift would be. On this slide, you can see the proposal that's personalized and also the reply device. The reply device has an old school giving pyramid. I don't know if you remember that, where it's like 10 gifts of 1,000, 1 gift of 100,000. And we've actually gotten 1 gift of 100,000 from campaigns like this. It's an impactful piece. We wanted to make it work online too. So in the mail and in email and in text message, we directed to a digital version of that proposal. And that's what's on the right-hand side, is a digital version of the proposal that folks were also receiving in the mail. This integrated approach has helped this program exponentially grow year over year. And while you don't have to build your own digital proposal, integrating, especially with these mid-level asks, which we should be using in digital as well as everything else, is kind of the tide that raises all boats. Let's see if I missed anything. I don't think so. Average gift for this was, of course, over $1,500. Okay, let's move over to advertising. So we do a lot of advertising to donors, and these are renewal ads. Again, renewing something that works really well. I will say on the offset, while one of these ads has a video, you'll notice that the others have words and text and aren't very pretty. And in the last couple of years, we call these lo-fi. I don't know if that's actually a real word, but in the last couple of years, we found that these ads, these are meta ads, that don't have pictures, that don't look highly produced, that look like maybe you even typed them on the notes of your phone, or maybe look like a bit of an email message, actually are outperforming really highly designed ads. So that's why those look like that. For American Friends Service Committee, we actually have an automated sync, which goes between every action and goes into Facebook. And then we target one-time donors who haven't given in 13 months. They have higher than benchmark return on ad spend. And while these say give now, I believe, we found that actually noting lapse status or saying renew now as a call to action do better than give now. So these have been really successful. Sempervirens Fund is very much the same tactic. One thing that we've been experimenting in is with targeting lapse sustainers, with creative that asks them to restart their monthly gift or rejoin their forest sustainers. And those also have a return on ad spend over $1, which is great. All right, now we're in legacy giving. We could also talk about this forever, but I know sorry, Brian, I know that this is going long. Okay. So we have found that email, digital ads, text messages are effective tools for promotion of legacy giving, for lead generation, for gift disclosures, for pledges, and for just plain old stewardship. So just 2 campaigns here. One is for Sempervirens Fund. Instead of pushing this big, like, other ways to give message in an email or direct them to the webpage, we've just been doing different advertising campaigns for different parts of the program. So you'll see there's an ad for QCD, there's ads for DAF, there's ads for stock. The QCD and DAF ads were running like I guess QCD was running from October to mid-November, and then the other ones were running through mid-November to the end of the year. We also did it on LinkedIn. For PETA, which has a pretty large legacy giving program, those are also meta ads that drove to a survey on Facebook that used the lead gen functionality. And so from there, we were able to capture email address and their name. And we targeted direct mail audiences and email audiences as well. That's a confirmation page that says, thanks so much, and has the opportunity to download a brochure. Again, we love brochures and planned giving. The questions in that, I don't know if you can see in that ad after you click through and get to the Facebook lead form is, I have included PETA in my will. I am considering including PETA in my will. I'd like more information about including PETA in my will, which are kind of the general questions we usually ask when we're trying to get bequest intentions. The other one is just pretty much the same ask, but it is in an email form. And again, this is an ask for gift disclosures for planned giving. That's what the email message is. Again, these continue to be really successful ways to engage folks in legacy giving, to get the disclosures, and we think that you should be using all channels. I'm speeding up here because I know I'm running long. All right. Okay, back to sustainers. So beyond stewarding them, we do a lot in what we call stop loss, right? So we want to make sure that folks whose credit cards are about to expire or who have expired are quickly spoken to. So this is a stop loss series that's for Phoenix Children's Hospital. And we built it to retain monthly donors who were at risk of expiration. And we wanted to reach out, resolve any issues, remind them of their important role that they play as a monthly donor. The first email promotes EFT giving, which, as you know, is electronic funds giving, which is better than credit cards because it doesn't expire with an expiration date. That goes 3 months after the first credit card gift. So those folks aren't going to expire, but we'd love to move them over to a better way of giving. The second message is for folks whose credit card is expiring in a month. And this is where we're hitting the danger zone, right? Like they're about to expire and we need to tell them. So it's just a proactive reminder that it's going to expire. And then of course we slide a little or, convert to EFT. And then the third is when the credit card actually declines. And that's immediately after the credit card fails. It reminds folks how much they mean to us and give them a really easy way to reactivate. Automated. As with everything, we never set it and forget it. You need to keep this content current, and you always need to check logic and triggers and all that stuff. But again, this is one of the really important things to have an effective monthly giving program. Almost done. All right. Let's just talk about pulling it all together. So we talked a lot about digital campaigns here. And we totally believe that there's different campaigns for different channels, and we also know the power of an integrated program. So also for Phoenix Children's Hospital, we created this integrated mid-level donor journey. They really wanted to engage and steward lapsed and prospective Hero Circles member, which is their mid-level program. And they wanted to also provide some off-ramps for folks who maybe should go over to major gifts. The channels that we used were email, direct mail, peer-to-peer texting, surprise digital advertising. We had dynamic asks on their donation forms. We broke the campaign up into 5 rounds. First couple were with a patient story of Cooper. We had a donor story. We had an engagement survey. We had an e-news style introduction to some major gift officers. And then we had some direct mail campaigns. Altogether, this was a campaign that raised close to $350,000 using all of the different channels. All right, I was flying. Now back to y'all. For you to discuss, what have you found successful in resolicitation? And then any ideas that percolated up from this session that you're going to bring back to your program? So time for you to talk. If that's okay, Brian, or should I just leave? Okay, all right. We've tested that. We've recently and then I'll go. We've tested covering the credit card fees, and it's gone both ways. that sometimes it's just fine and sometimes it has suppressed response. So I would test that. It used to be that I'd be like, yeah, do it, make it an option because we hadn't seen it. We've seen it start to depress. So I would test that if you're using it. Any other questions, comments? Great. Thank you guys so much.